folding, while it's been around basically forever, it was available in the original desktop tool. So in Desky, it was available. And then it was added to Webi very early on, fairly early on. However, it has not been very user-friendly, I might say. Okay, so that's why I wanted to put that silly question out there, just because it really wasn't very easy in 4.2 and prior to 4.3. Okay, so this is what it looks like in 4.2, and I'm going to open up this example report. In 4.2, they kind of changed the name to Outline, and you could turn on Outline and it would look like this. The problem was it was not at all intuitive, and it was super easy to get lost in here. And you could turn off both from the top and from the bottom. And if you didn't like follow the same path that led you into this, what you were seeing, it was really hard to get back. And you could, you know, if you clicked at the top instead of the bottom when you were supposed to click at the bottom first, it just got very confusing. But fortunately, they made some changes in 4.3, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I was super excited to start playing with this in 4.3, and it really is a game changer, I think, for us, and actually makes it a usable analysis tool for us. So where it's at, located in the 4.3 toolbar, is from the display options. So in 4.3, you will recall perhaps from previous presentations or from your early adoption of 4.3, the menu bar is highly simplified. And so we just have these 4 areas here, and the folding is tucked up under the additional options under display. Okay, so easy to miss, but if you click on that and select the fold/unfold option, that's what will turn on the folding. And the folding works with sections and breaks. We'll go through all of this, but mostly I want to jump right into demonstrating this. But before I do, let's do the poll question, the next poll question. Lucy, if you could put that up. There we go. In your organization, have you ever used folding in Web Intelligence? I would love to know if anybody is out there using it. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I am curious to know.
Yes, well, we're going to give just a couple of more seconds for everyone to answer. All right. So with that question, have you ever used folding in Web Intelligence? And answer for no, 61%. Yes, but not much, 39%.
Okay. And none for the...
None yes. For the, yeah.
Even the 40%, that surprises me. I thought it would be less than that. Yes, so here's an example from 4.2, that same print screen that I had on the PowerPoint slide. But I want to show you something. If I just click, you see all these, I have a break on the product name, a break on the product group, and a section for the vendor here. So these are essentially the 3 areas I could collapse. But if I click happen to just click in the white area, notice how that outline goes away. So this is the outline option here turned on. I have to click back in the report, and then my options turn on here. And I could start collapsing them and then collapse further to get to the top level. And then you could start expanding. And I had to remember to click inside here to be able to even get the options here to expand these other sections here. And now notice also that I have even the numbering down here. I've got a 1 and then a 1, 2. And the 1, 2 is referring to my 2 breaks here. And then this one is referring to my section. So totally not intuitive. And like I said, very easy to get lost. I could collapse a section and then how do I get back? How do I expand? How do I collapse it again? If I'm in here, how do I get back to the overall view? As you can see, not easy to work with. So let's look at 4.3 now. So here I am in 4.3, and I have a simple report opened up here. And again, I have sections. I have 2 breaks on my report. I put a break on region. I put a break on my quarters, and a section for my years. Okay. And then within the regions, I have customer state and various measures. Okay. So to turn on the folding in here, we go up to display. I'll click on the ellipses and click the checkbox there for fold and unfold. And here's where you can see the tooltips right on the report now. And I can start collapsing these, collapsing just one at a time, or right-clicking and collapsing all of them. So now I've collapsed all my regions, and over here I can come and collapse all my quarters and get to show the quarter level and collapse on the years. So once I saw that, I got really excited. Now it seemed a whole lot more intuitive on what I wanted to do to be able to develop my report. So I developed this report, basically the same report, but I added my revenue total at the top here of my section so I could compare the revenue for each of the years and see my totals right away just from this summary level. And then I could say, so 2020 was the best year of revenue here. 2021 was less. Maybe I should analyze that. I could expand that and then look at my quarters. Looking at my quarter data, I could see Q1 was the lowest quarter, so I could expand that. And at the region level, the West did great, the others not so well, and the South was the lowest revenue region. And then I can expand and look at each state within there and say, maybe I need to have a talk with the Texas manager in Alabama and find out what's going on there. And continue to do my analysis. So again, I could collapse South, expand any one of these, or collapse my quarter. Again, collapse all my quarters to see that. So this gave me a lot of options, but there were some interesting things that I discovered in this. So notice how the arrow is kind of overlapping actually the values there and makes it a little bit hard to read. So what I did was just in my cell there, I decided to change the alignment for that. Instead of having it left align, I could make it center aligned, or I could even make it right align and give the arrows some more room in there. And that makes it easier to read. Let me check one of the other. Notice how the change flows through. And then I could continue. Let's look. So same issue here on my second break. I'll select my region column here, and centered, I think doesn't look as great. It looked okay with the quarters because they were all the same length values. And I think the right aligned actually looks pretty good for this.
Hey,
so
Roxanne,
yes.
A couple of people are asking if it's possible to make the screen larger.
Yes,
They're having trouble.
Sure can. Let me. Here's a 150. How's that? Hopefully that will help visualization, being able to see that better. Let me know if I need to go one step larger.
I'm getting yeses, so that looks
yes.
good.
Yes, it looks good. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I wanted to look at then, I really liked this look. And if I want to collapse or expand all my quarters again, I can do that. Oh, notice how with the hover over, I get, it tells me, the tooltip tells me what's going to happen. So if I click here, it's going to fold quarter one. If I hover over northeast, it's going to say, the tooltip tells me, do you want to unfold northeast? If I right click, then I get the option to fold or unfold all of them. So if I click there, now it unfolded everything for the regions. So I think the tooltips are great. I can right click and fold the regions back up, right click on my quarters and fold them up again. Okay. And then I'm going to collapse my 2020. All right. So the next thing that I thought when I'm looking at this is I want to add a chart on here, say like a bullet chart or a bar chart here to get a visualization to show how, because seeing the numbers is great, but having a visual on there would be even nicer, right? So I proceeded to start adding a chart in here. So if I take my year and my revenue and drop them on here and turn this into a, let's just say a bar chart. And definitely don't need it that big, don't need a title, don't need a value axis. I would display the value on here and make it much smaller. And I would display the value on here. So let's just say I put my chart here. It's got plenty of room. And now if I collapse it, it disappears. And I was really disappointed. I tried all different kinds of charts. I tried the linear gauges, the bar charts or bullet charts type look, and none of them would display on here. However, I did not accept defeat. So the chart itself wouldn't, but obviously the cell is displaying in there, right? So what could I do with a cell in order to achieve the look that I wanted? And this is what we came up with. So this is a visualization. This is still just a cell. And I used some Unicode characters and this variable called factor, which is just taking, well, let me show you on here. I'll go back to my default on here. And if I change this to my factor, and I'm going to collapse that just so we can focus on that. So the factor variable is just taking my revenue divided by my total revenue and multiplying that by 100 and then using the ceiling function to round it up. And that gave me, by doing that, I can get my total revenue for each year relative to all of them. So that way I could get my bar, each of the bars relative to each other. So you see, these are fairly close. And I want my bars to reflect that, and the others are pretty small. So using that, then I used some variables, the left pad, to add the character, left pad, and then space, semicolon. The size is my factor here. And then I added, instead of another string, the string is going to be my, I think it's 9608, which is basically just a bar, just a fat bar. And it's padding it by this factor amount. Close that. And that gives me my bars. Now I had to make the cell itself pretty large to be able to display it, because I wanted to be able to add the revenue on the end of that. So I just concatenated the revenue. Actually, I'll add a space and then my revenue object. And there you have it. This is covered in our Webi dashboard course that InfoSol provides. So it would show you how to use other Unicode characters in order to build some interesting visualizations for you. But this gave me exactly the look that I wanted, added some formatting to get the color in here to display really nicely, and now even collapsed. It gives me my visual to see at a glance. I can see that this is my best year, which is the next, and I have the numbers right there beside it to display it as well. Okay, so I was really happy to be able to achieve that look. The other thing I noticed when I was working in here is, if I go back to the defaults for a moment here, notice that when I expand Q1 here, and I see my regions here, and I'll expand a region and then collapse the region. If I wanted to collapse this again, notice technically I really should go here, which is in the footer. And I kind of didn't like that. I would rather, I was looking at this saying, I would rather that be up here in the header. And so I started playing around with that. And that's what I did on this last tab, which is basically the same report, only I put my totals up in the header. And now when I expand Q1, I get my regions underneath it. I can expand my regions, collapse the region. And now when I collapse my quarter, I can fold it from the top, which to me seemed more intuitive. Now, it did require me to do some additional formatting. So I had to, because of course, my header cells were gray background and not bolded. So I just removed the background, added some bolding in there to get the look that I wanted so that it could look like this at the all region. And in the first example here, one of the common things that we do when we're adding breaks is that we remove the break header so it's not repeated multiple times, and add the table header instead, which is what we're doing here. This one uses the table header and the break header as well. And in this case, I'm just using the break header at on my first break, not on the second break. On the regions, I left it like this. Okay, so I wanted to show you how to do that. Let me show you one other quick example here. Just a common, I wondered if that would happen. oh, well, it still shows a common financial layout of a report. So here I have my regions, and then I'm showing revenue month to date, my budget, the variance, quarter revenue, budget, variance, and year to date. And so I could easily see my totals up here and then start investigating the quarter that I want in here. So let me reopen this report so I can show that real quick. My whole session. Hope this. All right. Oh, another point that I wanted to show, I'm in reading mode now, and it behaves the same in reading mode as in design mode. Unlike element linking or a few other things that kind of behave differently depending on whether you're in reading mode or in design mode. In this one, it works the same in reading mode or in design mode. Okay, so I think this would be a great opportunity for your financials to be able to display the totals and then dig into the detail that the users want to see on their own. All right, let me just go over a couple of slides here. I think I covered all of these. Charts will not display, cells will display. Right click to get the all option. Click on the collapsed arrow just to get that section or break. And we recommend center aligning or right aligning in order to be able to view them better. There, you'll see a little plus sign on the header, and I found that that doesn't work quite as well, except when I changed to using the header, put my break totals in the headers instead of in the footers, then it worked a little bit better. Otherwise, I kind of steered away from that, the plus sign in the header of your table. Okay, and just stick with your arrows here. All right, which is what I was talking about here. This is the little plus sign. It's definitely usable, but what you can end up with is having all the numbers gone and only your headers showing, which is not helpful at all. Okay, and then a final thing to mention was, so what will happen when I export that report? And the result is exporting to Excel or PDF will display whatever is displaying in Webi at the time of the export. And it does not, for example, if you export to Excel, it will not include the plus signs to be able to continue doing the collapsing and expanding in Excel or PDF, okay? So whatever the look is, and so just keep that in mind when you have your report. Let's see if it will, I'm just timing out of everything here. If I have this report, if I printed it right now, this is exactly how it would look without the arrows and the plus signs to be able to expand it, okay? And I'll do one of these exports. And are there any questions? I'll do just that one.
Not so far, Roxanne.
All right. I think I can open this. Okay, so this is how.
We just had something come in the chat. Can you count subtotals based on 2 regions?
Can you
count subtotals based on 2 regions?
you probably could with where clauses if you wanted to. Are you saying can you collapse more than one region at a time? I don't know if that's the question, but yes, you can definitely expand more than one region at a time to see. I've been only doing one at a time, but you can collapse and expand any or all. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I don't see any others at this time, although I must say this was very interesting, and Marie Kondo would have been proud of you, Roxanne.
Thank you.
because it was an extremely neat presentation.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was excited to be able to take advantage of this. I think you know, there hasn't been much mention about it with 4.3, but I think it's so much easier than it has been in any time in the past. Even with Desky, it was not easy. So I'm really happy that they put in some effort here, because this is the type of stuff that people want to do with their analysis. They want to be able to see a top level and then break it down.
Well, it used to get used extensively in Desky, in desktop intelligence. It was, you know, everybody used it then.
It was more popular back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So it is interesting that they're kind of, you know, getting it right again at 4.3.
Yes.
There was another question that came in. Can you change the color of the bar graph based on a number?
Oh, like conditional formatting. I would think you could. Absolutely. Since it's just a cell, I would think you could do that to apply conditional formatting based on a value. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time. Thank you again, Roxanne, and I'll hand over to Lucy.
Yes, thank you, Roxanne. We had great comments. Celine Baker says, useful information. Thanks for the insight and tips. So there you go. It's one of our best presenters right here.